The first thing we need to do is believe that happiness is a temporary, limited, finite state of mind or feeling in the body, and believe that it's intermittent. And when we have this belief, this is perfect for our goal to be miserable, because then what happens is that we perpetually search for an external experience in order to find fulfillment. And because experience cannot actually be found in any external experience, then we will continue to perpetuate this dangling of the carrot search for the rest of our lives. And this search it's made of resistance, because the searching is by definition a resistance to our current experience. We're saying, I do not want this and I want to find something better. And that seeking is what we call resistance, and that resistance is suffering. What you'll be doing then is you'll be living 90% of your life in resistance and 10% in resistance and 10% in short bursts of intermittent joy. I mean, I'm not much of a fan of that. I prefer like 100% happiness and 0% misery. But that's just me. You know, this is research for those. I've had 2 decades worth of misery, so I thought I'd share this with you just based on my own expertise in misery. The third step would be to search for happiness as an experience. When we search for happiness as an experience, we are consistently going to miss the mark. We'll never find it. Happiness is not an objective experience. Happiness cannot be found as an objective experience. If happiness could be found as an object, happiness would have to be an object. You see, happiness is not an object. It's not a state of mind. So if we are experiencing happiness, we're not experiencing an object. We don't have happiness. Happiness isn't something that we can have or lose. Happiness is like the word whole. We use it as a negative. When we say the word whole, we're not describing the presence of something, we're describing the absence of something. In this case, an empty space. In terms of happiness, we're describing the absence of resistance. It's in the retrieval of an object, or the retrieval of some type of objective experience, and then we agree to experience, and in that yes to experience, we stop saying no to experience. And because we stop saying no, there's no resistance left, and the natural state of our being, which is happiness itself, the natural condition, we could think of it as the nature of being alive, is actually happiness itself. If we were being alive without the resistance to it, we would just experience peace. We would just experience happiness. And that's absolute. So if we want to be miserable, we're going to have to consistently believe that happiness is an objective experience, this happy, fluttery emotion that we feel within. And we must then search for that happy, fluttering emotion from within, because we'll never be able to find that consistently. We can, however, find the absence of resistance. And by the way, I have a free community. I'm going to put it in the link, but definitely don't click it, because I talk about unconditional happiness and take people through meditations every single week. And it's completely free. So that would be like the plague to you if this is something that you're looking for. So I would completely avoid that. Needless to say, let's continue. It's the resistance to experience that creates the suffering aspect of experience. If you've ever been angry but had no one to blame, not even yourself, you wouldn't have been suffering. You would have been experiencing a raw, natural emotion called anger, which is partly brain stuff. And you wouldn't have been suffering. However, if you experienced anger with blame involved, and blame is the resistance to the anger expressed in the form of choosing someone as the cause of the event, then you will have suffered. I don't think I need to stress that to anybody. We've all experienced that. Or likewise, if you were in grief and you experienced an intense grieving, but the grieving was never resisted. You never rejected the death. You never rejected or blamed yourself for anything you could have done or could have said prior to it. You just experience the death. I had one of my best friends die last year, and there was a hint of, I could have seen him more before his death, and I noticed that belief, that tendency. And if we want to continue to be miserable, what we do is we don't recognize those tendencies and we continue to suffer them. We say, oh, I shouldn't have had this tendency. I should know better than this. No, I just had the one thought, so I could have seen him more often. I was like, hold on a minute. I'm not having that be the substance of my suffering. And I grieved my friend, who's more like a brother. And I didn't resist it. And it's just like raw, organic emotion. The type of stuff that you don't really know the distinction between sad or happy. It's just raw experiencing. You might have even had experiences where you're crying and then you start laughing. It's just this raw surrender to the emotion. In that sense, it's our evidence that happiness and peace is not an objective experience. It makes no difference what is happening in our experience, so long as we are not resisting our experience. So, to continue being miserable, keep resisting what you're experiencing. The fourth step would be to ignore the incessant yearning that we all have to find true happiness. And if you don't believe that you have that yearning, then you are well on your way to be miserable for the rest of your life. So you're probably already there right now. So I would suggest just to continue with that belief. Don't listen to the rest of this because it's probably going to take you off track. And I'm only saying this purely for awareness purposes. Every single action that we take is either in direction of happiness or in expression of happiness. There is no other action that we make other than those two things. I'm not even going to go into it. I've debated this on way too many videos. Those are the only two actions that we have. It's either in direction of happiness or an expression of happiness. There's no other action that we make with any other intention. And the reason for that is because there is only one experience, and it's being alive. And being alive, coincidentally, is the nature of happiness. Happiness is also the nature of being alive. So we're either trying to come back to our original shape, that's what we could think of it as, is this yearning for happiness, this yearning to want to find something to fulfill ourselves, whether that's a career, job, money, success, striving, or whether it's spiritual books, spiritual knowledge, spiritual teachers, spiritual freaking drugs, whatever it might be. It's all the desire to come back to our natural condition of the mind, which is just peace and happiness itself. It's just the lack of resistance. It's not a big deal. And once we experience happiness, the only thing we ever want to do is express it. Maybe we have a child. Maybe we drink some wine. Maybe we go to the party that we didn't want to go to. Every time there's an experience of joy or happiness, happiness wants to share it. Whenever there's not an experience of happiness, we seek to find it in some form of addiction, smoking, cigarettes, reading a book, reading the newspaper, checking our phone, whatever it might be. Because the ultimatum is that whether we agree or disagree with me right now, I can almost guarantee that eventually, whether this life or the next, hopefully there's another one, you will come back to this one most obvious recognition, which is that happiness is the only experience we're having, whether to find it or express it. The fifth and final, most profound step of all is to completely ignore the question as to what you are. Completely ignore it. Don't even go there. Trust me, don't. If you start dwiggling round the rabbit hole as to what you fundamentally are, there's no coming back. So whatever you do, if you want to continue to be miserable and bored and unfulfilled, don't even touch the question. Just leave it. Don't try and understand it. Because if you do, you'd recognize that what you fundamentally are is pure existence itself. You are existence. You are reality. There's nothing realer than you. You are the absolute source of reality. And I'm jumping the gun a bit there and going straight to the, I wouldn't say fully the top of the mountain, but you know what I'm trying to say. I'm being a bit direct with you. I don't want to scare you off. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear I'm reality. It's easy. You're already reality. Nothing's going to change for you. You'll just be happy. Just be careful with that. You don't want to demiserize yourself, okay? Happiness is the nature of experience because what we essentially are is acceptance itself. We are an all-embracive, pure aspect of being, or pure being. We're not an aspect of being, we are being. And this being is pure existence. It has no size, shape, form, color. You cannot touch it, taste it, but you can know it because you are it. And you know yourself, and you can identify that as awareness. And that awareness is absolutely free and unlimited. You cannot have it disturbed. You cannot have it tainted. It is pure. Like the image on your screen cannot damage or taint or harm or hurt the screen in which it plays. Likewise, your experience cannot really truly disturb the awareness in which your experience takes place. And that awareness is what you fundamentally are. So I hope these steps were clear. I hope you are on track with your misery. And I will look forward to never seeing you again because all I talk about is unconditional happiness. So I'll make this one video just as a concession for those who might want to take the alternative path. Okay. Have a beautiful day, guys. Take care. Bye.